تساؤلات لغاية ما الميكروفون يشتغل عشان الوقت بس بتاع حضراتكم. أنا هبدأ بتحية بس بالعربي. أهلا وسهلا بيكم. معظمكم طلبة الكلية في برنامج هندسة البرمجيات متهيألي، بس في مجموعة جاية كمان من خارج الكلية، فأهلا وسهلا بيكم جميعا. أنا اسمي ريم بهجت. ببساطة بأشرف على المشروع حاليا كممثل لجامعة القاهرة. المشروع أساسا يمكن أكيد عرفت كل التاريخ والتفاصيل، بس اللي بينسق البرنامج بتاعته كماجستير فعليا هي الدكتورة عبير، هي رئيس قسم علوم الحاسب. هستأذنكم هبدأ بقى بالإنجليش عشان نرحب بضيوفنا ونتكلم. Okay, I started in Arabic, so good morning everybody. Welcome to Faculty of Computers and Information, Cairo University, for our guests and our students as well. Most of the attendees are some of our students from the software engineering program, but also some people from outside. We decided to open it for those who would like. So we have, for example, Dr. Nagwa Badr from JMSE University, who's head of the IS department at the JMSE Faculty of Computers and Information, Informatics, whatever you call it, at JMSE University. But also, I would like the speakers will introduce themselves, but maybe we should also that you should know. ايه بقى كانت في زرار ما عرفتش انا هو قال لي فيه. هو عارفه من الرزق. Okay. Maybe I should also say that the software engineering program started this year, practically implemented at the faculty here, also at the Egyptian Electronic University or e-learning university. At our end at Cairo University, the one who is supervising the whole program, we call program coordinator, which is equivalent to head of department, is actually the Professor Abir Korani, but she is also the head of the computer science department at the same time. So we'd like to welcome you, and the speakers today are also partners in the project. I will ask them to introduce themselves as they speak, but let me introduce Dr. Yusuf Hassouna from Birzeit University. The main coordinator of the project and the project initiator is actually Birzeit University. And we have here two representations from Birzeit. We have Dr. Yusuf Hassouna and we have Dr. Iyad Tumar, and they are both working on managing the project and making sure that it works fine and managing the whole consortium. We have quite a number of partners in the consortium. So it is, but we are very easy to manage, so no problem at all. So I leave the floor to Dr. Yusuf Hassouna to speak.
Thank you, Dr. I'll present myself. My name is Dr. Yusuf Hassouna. I'm an assistant professor at Birzeit University. I'm the coordinator of this project, and also I'm the director of the software engineering master program at Birzeit University. In this morning, I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the project to this event, and to be honest, it is a great honor for me to stand in front of you at Cairo University, since we all have a special place in our heart for Cairo and Egypt. So it is the first time for me to be in such an event or in such a place. So this is a great honor for me to welcome you at Cairo University. Also, I would like to thank all people who are dedicated a lot of time to participate in accomplishing the activities of the project. Without their time and effort, this project and this master would not be possible. Either by developing the teaching material, or organizing and hosting events, or the project management activity, since the project management activity were a main activity to coordinate the work within a consortium of 10 members in a different time zone and a different schedule. Also, special thanks for Cairo University for organizing and hosting this event, for Dr. Reem and her team, who are always a great support and provide a great contribution to the project. Cairo University was work package leader for one of a core work package, which is trying to establish the connection between the academia and the industry. And Dr. Reem and her team play a good role, and we produce, I guess, a good framework to establish or to start the connection between the academia and the industry, since software engineering is known more practical oriented rather than a theoretical oriented discipline. Well, also many thanks to our European partners, and especially who are present here today, Middlesex team and Koblenz University from Germany, and for the other partners who couldn't attend. Also, I would like to mention that Professor George from Middlesex, he always brave, and he always would like to come to Cairo, even when the project early started, and let's say
just after 11.
And the situation was not that promising for outsiders to come and visit Cairo, but George was always brave and was there for the project. So thank you very much, George, for your braveness and support. So as part of the activities, the project has two EU teaching visits. We call them EU teaching visits, where our EU partners, professors from our EU partners, come to Palestine and Egypt to deliver speech, seminars, raise discussion and awareness about their recent research and research interests. And the aim of those visits is to establish or start a collaboration in research between our faculty, our students, and their counterpart in Europe. And it could be possible that research continue, maybe for a PhD later on. It depends for individual cases to which extent this research will continue. And this afternoon I will talk about the summer school, which is also a second activity that supports this aim of the project. So, also, before I end, I would like to mention that the project, according to the success indicators we have, that the project implemented successfully, and the master program in software engineering being accredited as a full program at 4 partner universities, which are Cairo University, ELU University, and Hilwan University in Egypt, and in Palestine at Birzeit University, and implemented as a pathway within the current computer science, Master of Computer Science programs at Al-Quds University and Islamic University of Gaza. So at the end, I wish you all a very successful event, and I leave the mic for George now to give you a speech.
To say hello to everybody.
Okay, good morning everybody. My name is Atumar from Birzeit University, and I'm happy to meet you all, Cairo University students, and as well I would like to welcome all of you and our guests from other universities and Dr. Najjar from JMSE University, and our colleagues from EU who make it to contribute to this an important event and destination event in Cairo University and e-learning as well university. I want to make it long because Dr. Yusuf explained everything, but actually I would like to thank Cairo University for organizing this event, and I would like to thank very special thanks to Dr. Ibagat and Dr. Abir as well for giving us this opportunity to meet all of you and to interact with you the whole day and enjoying hopefully this event will be fruitful and successful with all of you. Thanks a lot.
Dr. Yusuf mentioned that, but it's interesting to know that the project started at early 2012, where Egypt was not very stable. So for the kickoff meeting, for example, we couldn't get most of the European partners because their countries did not allow it, but actually they shared a few days meeting all through Skype, except one person who just ignored all the rules, and they warned him, you shouldn't travel, and he said, I will sign on my personal sort of responsibility. Is actually Dr. George Dafoulas, who came, and he was warned then that he has to stay in the hotel 24 hours, and we had to make the meeting in the same hotel. But then by the end of the trip, we convinced him to sneak in and to go to Tahrir Square. So he actually went to Tahrir Square during this period also for half an hour or so, and then came back. So you're welcome always to Egypt, and thank you very much for this support.
Thank you very much. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope, can you hear me at the back?
I need the mic.
No, the mic is better, but those mics work and you
Yeah,
can take
I
them
have a
out.
loud voice, so I will just put it there, try to...
You can take it out.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm quite, like I'm from Greece originally, so I'm going to be moving my hands. So that is going to restrict me. Everybody is given the welcome talks, and this is usual for such meetings, but you have to realize that in our project we feel quite like a family. So it's not really just the formalities, it's really thanking you for your presence here. It's my turn to thank you from Cairo University and Dr. Rim and everything that she's been doing for the project. I don't think that it is an act of bravery braveness to attend the kick-off meeting of the JMSE. It was a great opportunity, and actually it was the start of a wonderful journey, and here we are towards the end of the project. So today I'm going to talk about practices in GSD. I'm going to say a few things. You're here to listen to a few talks, but for my talk, the most important thing I would really like you to keep in mind is that, that it can change your frame of mind in terms of how you see software engineering and about your future. So because I tend to be quite interactive, just be aware that I may be asking you a couple of questions, but I'm not going to point at people. I just, like if you want to participate, raise your hand. Secondly, I'm from Greece, probably you understand it from the accent. This is one of the reasons why I love being in Egypt all the time. We have a special bond, our nations. So if I go too fast in English, please just remind me to slow down, but I will keep it in mind. The point here is to understand rather than just staying there for an hour being bored. So the first question I want to ask is, probably you've read already the agenda. Do you know what the GSD stands for? You don't have to, but if anyone is brave enough to try it. Yes?
Global software development.
Excellent. It's global software development. So what I'm going to talk today is about global software development. We have an excellent team from Middlesex, so we will have Louis, who's going to be talking about server management, and we're going to have Jaap, who's going to be talking about the heavy and theoretical and philosophical aspects of software engineering. So he's the real software engineer, and I'm from more like an information scientist, thinking of how we can actually get great minds of Jaap's working on certain ideas which we can actually utilize in order to move forward in the field. The other scope of the main scope of my presentation today is for you to think. This is why I chose global software development. It's not just because it's one area I'm interested in, but may I ask you? Most of you're studying software engineering on computer-related subjects. Where do you think your career will start? Who do you think your next employer will be, or at least who you would like to be? So let's assume that in 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to start as a software engineer. How do you envision your day? Are you going to get into a laboratory, develop a piece of software, and then go home? What do you think? There is no correct answer. It's just what you have in your mind. So what do you think is going to be, what's lined up in the future for you guys? Have you thought of it? Have you thought of what you're going to do next? No? Go on, yes?
Maybe continue my career path as normal and finalize my career as software engineer.
So how is that career looking like? What's your daily life like? You wake up in the morning, you fight the traffic, the Cairo's traffic, and you go to work. So how's it work? Who do you work for? Or what do you do there?
Yeah, I wake up. Sometimes I'm working from home.
Yes.
Most of the times I go to my company.
And the employer is it's an Egyptian company or a national company?
For now, no, it is located in Denmark. I am outsourcing for them.
Yes.
That allow me sometimes work from my...
So you're an excellent example of global software development because you're already working from home, you have a remote work, and you are in a flexible kind of contract, which doesn't mean, it means that you can work for somebody else, you can work for different businesses in different parts of the world. So this is what I want you to understand today. It's about global software development and how it encourages you to work in different structures, in different environments. The agenda for today, I'm going to talk about global software development in the background of GSD. I'm going to talk about virtual teams because that was one of my area of my PhD. I always wanted, I studied in Manchester, and for those who haven't been in the UK, Manchester is a very rainy place. So for somebody who grew up in Athens in the sunshine, being for 10 years in Manchester, it was like torture. I know I'm being recorded, so hopefully my Manchester colleagues will not listen to that, especially the ones who are stuck behind. So my dream was to create a virtual team model where I could do work from Athens or my summer home for the business in Manchester, or even better in the States where I have family. I'm still working on it. It has not materialized yet in the way that I wanted. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the follow the sun software development mode, issues about managing global software development. As a typical academic, I've included some case studies. I have all the links on the slides, and you can get the slides. And actually, Louis, in his typical efficient way, he's actually recording the session. So we could even stream the session. And somebody's recording me as well. But we can actually have the video if you want to. If you think that was very interesting and you want to see it again, you never know. We're going to talk about the JMSE case study, and then we'll cover a little bit of software engineering education. One of the most important resources in the field these days is the Irish Software Engineering Research Centre. And literally, they have a lot of resources about global software development and different models. And according to them, what we have in terms of the definition of global software development, first of all, it implies teams of knowledge workers located in various parts of the globe developing commercial viable software. Which means that in order to have GSD, you have to have people all over the world. You cannot claim you're doing GSD and everybody is based in Alexandria and Cairo, that's about it. So it has to be international. And secondly, global software development is about working software. It's not about, let's talk about software. It's about creating software for someone who's in the other side of the Atlantic maybe, or someone around the world who they have a project. And then it is characterized by moving centralized software development from home to dispersed teams. So in your case, you're working from home, you have the skills, I'm not a good programmer myself, you are, they will say, okay, I'll send you some work because I need you to develop this class or this piece of software for me and pass it back to me. So that's the idea of GSD. Sometimes the term distributed software development is used interchangeably with global software development. It all started with distributed. And it describes the development that takes place in geographically distributed settings. In other words, you have people around the globe. So you have somebody in Germany, somebody in the UK, and somebody in India. Believe it or not, it all started with India. Everybody who talks about GSD, you will get case studies with India. The reason was simple, a lot of software development taking place there, and labor was cheap. So in typical human nature, when people see an opportunity, they go for it. So I said, oh, India, plenty of developers, 10% of the salaries we pay in the US or in the UK, let's use them. So this is how, this is one of the fundamental aspects of distributed software development. The focus of distributed is obviously on the way that the resources are distributed around the world. And it leads to two more concepts, outsourcing and offshoring. And again, sometimes we use terms interchangeably. This is how, for example, a typical example of outsourcing, I've seen this in so many presentations, where you have the kid and I say, Dad, my homework is too hard, can I outsource it to India? So can I talk to my Indian friend on WhatsApp and he or she can help me? And the dad says, no, you may not outsource your homework to India. Okay, so outsourcing drivers. The kid, look at the kid, it's very tired, cannot do the homework. So this is one of the typical reasons why we're doing outsourcing. Lack of skills. We may not have enough developers, we don't have specific design skills, and we need somebody who's out there. And because it's outsourcing, outsourcing can be in India, but it could be next door. So I know, for example, that if I need something from the server side, I do not even touch it. I don't even know how a server looks like these days, because here's the man. So he deals with all the server aspects, and therefore it's like, would you call it outsourcing? Could be the beginning of outsourcing, if you like. It is in the structure for organization. Second one is reduced costs. Why do something if I can do it cheaper somewhere else? And that leads to follow the sound development, which we will talk later on. We have till 10:45. Yes. So offshoring versus outsourcing. The offshoring is software development taking place when a new department is created at a remote location. So with offshoring, we say, we need developers, or we need someone to do this component, and we're going to take them somewhere else. And it has to be fully distributed to a new location. So that is offshoring. It's off the shores of our land. Outsourcing takes place when there is another company that is brought in with the skills. It doesn't have to be abroad, but outsourcing is, I don't have the skills, I bring somebody else in. For any Star Wars fans, because you've been outsourced, we found a guy in India who talks just like you. So the idea, I think, I don't know how many Star Wars fans we have. I think you are one. Two. Okay. And so the idea is that you get somebody who can do exactly what people in your organization do. So there's no point of outsourcing something if the work is not going to be as good as in your own place. Okay, so outsourcing is using separate companies to develop software for one-off projects. That's the difference with outsourcing. The outsourcing, it can be, I just need you for one project. I don't need to have you on the payroll. I'm just going to use you for this particular project. Offshoring, it's a low-cost location. So the idea of offshoring is you own the department. So outsourcing, I'll give you some money for the next 3 months, you do the development, then we will part ways, and then again, we will work together in a future project. In Salah, as you would say. Offshoring though, we start for good. Okay, we cannot, you're part of the organization. And then we have a third strategy, which is partnership, utilizing virtual teams. So with the partnership, you have a long-term relationship, but there could be individuals. I can have 1 or 2 individuals being being elsewhere. So that's the difference between traditional team and virtual teams then. I put some fact. By the way, the virtual team concept was heavily referenced in the mid-90s. And since then we have, from Cairo in the 1998, we moved, and Lipnak focusing on networking of virtual teams, we moved to so much work on virtual teams and how they work. If I chose some of the dimensions, you can have, in the literature, you may have up to 50 or 60 dimensions how you can compare virtual with traditional teams. Let me pause for a minute because I'm going, this is what I call death by bullet point. So you have so many bullet points in the slides, and by the third slide you're like, okay, why is it important to know virtual teams and how they work? It is important because sooner or later you'll find yourself working into an environment where you will have to use a virtual team. And it's ideal for you to be able to work in terms of manage virtual teams or be part of a virtual team. For example, you may find that you will have to work with people who are from a culture that you're not going well together. So you have to identify cultural differences and how you will sort out these cultural differences. And you can close your eyes and you can think of neighboring countries, you can think of your neighbors you can think of your cousins, you can think of your siblings that you don't get along, but you have to get along because you're family. And for a project, work is their family. So one of the first things that you need to consider is the structure. In terms of structure, what we have is like, in a typical, do you have people, are there people you work together, you study in the same team maybe? Let me guess, probably you've been working together at all? Yes, no? Yes, yeah. Why do you think I believe that you work together? They're sitting together. It's like, I know with my students, they are practically joint on the hip. They go together. So when I see Mohammed, I see Ahmed. I say, Ahmed, where is Mohammed? I haven't seen him in the labs today. And then, they're in the toilet. Oh, that's disturbing. You know exactly where your friend is. So that's a traditional team. You are together all the time. And you can actually use them with things like extreme programming, where you actually have to do the pairs, when you have to do all with Scrum. You need people like that. You need, like when you're doing the Scrum, you need people to talk to, and then somebody says, I've done something, I've developed this piece of code, and you know that this is a success because they've told you that for the past 2 weeks they've been trying to solve a problem, and you know about the project. The problem is with virtual teams you don't have that, because it's loose links. You have somebody who's a good developer, but they're not part of the team continuously. And the problem is that with virtual teams, they're not stay together so long in order to get this bonding or this understanding. So this is why virtual teams can be a little bit problematic with certain aspects of extreme programming, let's say, because you don't have the comprehension of how people develop software, how they design. The next thing is operation, time zone difference. People like, I don't have too much evidence from Yap to claim that, but I have for Louis. People like Louis and me, sometimes we may perceive that we don't have a life because there is an email arriving at 4 o'clock in the morning or a reply. Although I've seen Yap's Facebook updates sometimes being there in the early hours of the time. So the thing is that we work a lot and we like that, but not everybody is like this. The fact that we work at 2 o'clock in the morning, it means that if I see an email from our dean, Martin, our dean, he's one of the craziest deans I've ever met. I mean, you can receive an email with a crazy idea at 6 o'clock in the morning or at 1 o'clock in the morning. So practically I think that he sleeps during Christmas and Easter and then he works the entire year long. So if he sends me an email, sometimes he sees a response within 3 hours instead of the next day because I don't sleep, or sometimes I check my email. But in normal, this is not normal. So in real life, you need to wait for a day. And that's the difference with virtual teams, because you have the different time zones. So at the moment the time is 10:17. Back in the UK is 8:17. Most of our colleagues, they're fighting the way to work. Some of them they're fighting to stay awake in the London Underground. They're not at work yet. Here we had our coffee, we're working, and actually in India they're preparing. Actually they had their lunch, they have woken up again, and they're preparing to end their shift in a few hours time. So that time zone difference is important. And we will say later on why.
And remember today's Saturday.
Is it Saturday?
Yeah. So
oh my God, we work on a Saturday even, and we have this. Okay, we need to show the video to Martin. Okay. That is another thing which is in terms of the culture. I'm going to jump there in culture for a minute. the culture, I didn't want to put religion because religion is a kind, that can be a little bit sensitive matter to start talking about religion, but I think that, your weekend is Friday and Saturday, is that also partly of religious purposes, isn't it? Like this? Sorry? Fridays.
Like Sunday.
Yeah, so it's a Friday and a Sunday. So we have to take things under consideration because, and actually, you know what? Sunday is a working day for you, right?
Sunday is a work.
Yeah. So in my tip, sorry.
You have lectures tomorrow.
I know. I'm working throughout the weekend. Either it is your weekend or my weekend. So it's like okay. So, but if you think about it, if I want to take an opportunity, I will say if I go to Egypt on Fridays, they don't work. But the guys in England, they will work. But in Egypt, they will work on Sunday. So there I am already. I added 1 day in my working day, in my 7-day week. So that's another benefit. The culture, homogeneous and diverse national culture. We don't have that in London. Typical example, Jaap, he's Dutch, South African, Greek. All of us, we've been in the UK for several years. So what kind of culture are we? I have no clue. Actually, I have a clue. We're corporate culture. We're Middlesex. So you have to understand, I do a lot of work with IBM, and I visited IBM in Hersley, which is in England. I've talked with the guys in Canada through Skype. I've been in Athens, and we work on a project with IBM in Belgium. And everybody, they say, how do you work together? I say, we are IBMers. Remember that. IBMer. I'm not Egyptian anymore. I'm not Greek. I'm IBMer. Which means that the way of IBM doing things, it precedes my national culture. I had that when I had my PhD scholarship from British Telecom. I was a BTer. We didn't use that term. But actually, every Friday, all the other PhD students would have beer. That's a thing that you do Friday evening in Manchester. It rains and you have beer in order to just survive the weekend and then it starts all over on Monday. No, every Friday I had to do a one-page progress report for BT. Because that's the thing that you do, because that was part of the structure. I hated that, and then I realized that's what makes me different. I start thinking like a corporate person. Control, single organization or different organizations. You see, these are some of the important things that make virtual teams different. So you have to be prepared to talk with people from different national cultures, because that will help you to understand how people operate and work. Face-to-face communication, it's the water cooler effect. In the 70s, most of the business solutions, they were done next to the water cooler. So I'm here, this is the water fountain, I'm here to drink water, and I'm meeting Thomas. I said, Thomas, you need to talk to Louis. I mean, I've asked him for a report for 1 week now, and I hear nothing from him. I said, yeah, but he has a new girlfriend now, this is it. Yeah, just give him another 2 days. I said, okay, we'll do. And I'm not sending the angry email. And we just reached a solution. That was the water cooler effect. For Middlesex, that's called the photocopier effect. We have a lot of photocopies, this is where we meet. In a virtual team, you don't have that. You don't have a water cooler. Your friend is in Turkey. You're here. You only meet with computer-supported cooperative work and groupware tools. You have to do Skype, you have to do video conferencing. But there is research saying that virtual teams, they take advantage of the technology. Because the 5th time that you're going to do your Skype, you're going to be at home and your child may be crying, okay? And we have this in the project. So many Skypes, I'm not going to call names, but you know who you are, guys. And I have a newborn. And I have, the other day I was teaching my class and I had the baby because the mother was not there. So I was feeding my daughter and I was talking to my students. And when you do that, you establish this rapport, you establish this relationship. Okay, drivers and barriers. Distance. If I get something wrong, I cannot travel to India and come back. We had a project with GlaxoSmithKline, and I'm using Google Glasses. And they had a great idea. In Bulgaria, where they had the plant, they had a lot of machinery. And they said, I cannot send an engineer to Bulgaria from Stevenage to fix things. It's going to be too expensive, it takes time. So I'm going to use Google Glasses. So the technician in Bulgaria, they're going to wear the Google Glasses, and I'm going to be on a tablet, and I'm going to see what they see. And I'll tell them that ball there is loose, so make sure that you fix it. So that is how you deal with distance these days. Time zones. I have a project for more than 6 years now with my students working with people in Texas. So they send them emails 10 o'clock in the morning and say, the guys from Texas, they haven't responded to my email for the past 30 minutes. I said, yes, you know what time is in Texas? They're fast asleep, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. We have 5-6 hours time zone difference. And the culture. When I was doing my MBA, we did a scenario to show project management. And I was the manager saying that we need to do something first thing in the morning, right? So we were supposed to, one of our friends was from Saudi Arabia. I was supposed to be the Greek team, and we had the British. So the British team turned up for the meeting at first thing in the morning. That was 9 o'clock sharp, okay? The Greeks arrived around 11 o'clock after the morning coffee, and they were a little bit sleepy. And the Saudis, they sent a memo, said, we're very good, this is a very good team, we endorse it, we support you, we're all there for you, but we cannot log in, we'll log in tomorrow. And that was, we were exaggerating, but we were presenting how culture, the perception first thing in the morning may be different in different countries. For some people, first thing in the morning is, let's do it the previous day, so we're ready. Okay. I'm aware of the time and I have so many things to say, so I'm going to say a few things about, should I go through, okay, you need to deal with project management, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, communication, we talked about culture, and addressing the fear of the unknown. I can't remember whether Egypt, I think Egypt was definitely part of Hofstede's work in the 90s. Hofstede did some work on national cultural difference for IBM. For 53 countries, they tried to find out what were the difference in 4 main dimensions. Actually, they added the 5th dimension later on. And one of the dimensions were power distance. Would you go to your supervisor and say, imagine that you, sorry, Dr. Im, can I use you as an example? Yes, you are the supervisor. So Dr. Im is your supervisor. She tells you that you know, like you need to use this paper and you need to do this for your project, and you realize that she's wrong. Would you go and say, actually, Dr. Im, I think you're wrong. I should be using that paper. Would you do? Is that allowed or not allowed? Is that good practice to say this openly to your supervisor? What do you think? I see people going, no, I'll do. Who cares? In my next masters, I'll do the next masters. Okay, I'll do it. My dissertation will fail, but it's okay. I'll come back next year. Okay, power distance. And then you have other cultures like the Americans. Or I mean, in the UK, the British culture is quite high up, low on power distance, high up in terms of openness.
But it could also sometimes be even the organizational culture. So
True.
the same country, but just different organizations having different power distances.
It's a perfect example, because if you are an IBM, sorry?
Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah. You could repeat.
Yeah, you cannot put it. You cannot.
Yeah, so I was just saying that sometimes it's even an organizational difference. So you might be in the same country, and you might accept that that country might have a big power difference, but the specific organization you're in, you know, it allows you to be very open and upfront with the CEO, where in another organization in the same country might be completely different. So even though it's yeah.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, for example, like IBM or like Google, they would say, okay, I don't care if I'm in Egypt or in Greece. I want my managers to know if they've done something wrong. I don't want to waste time. So I'm not going to talk about Hofstede anymore, because I've been talking about Hofstede for more than 30 years. I've managed to get 2 degrees out of Hofstede, so I think I've exploited this work quite a lot. But uncertainty avoidance. Greece is one of the top countries in uncertainty avoidance, and this is where it goes to fear. That's why the public sector was so huge in Greece. This is why Greece got into financial trouble. Because the state would help you and nurture you like a mother would do to a child. So somebody would say, I don't want to go to the private sector because I may lose my job tomorrow. What's going to happen to me? I'm afraid. I want the security of the state. So I'm going to become a teacher or a nurse or an academic. So I think partly I ended up being an academic and doing so many degrees just to stay in a university, which it was perceived to be a safe area. No longer. In the UK, you don't have a tenure. I mean, although you have tenure, it can end. That's an oxymoron. You're supposed to have tenure, but it's not permanent. I don't know what that means. So follow the sun software development. We're in the US. We can give some work to Europe, Asia, and go around. One of the first examples of follow the sun software development was Java Beans. It did not work. The reason was that the idea was that they had Seattle, Belarus, there's Israel, and was it Latvia? So basically, the idea was that they were developing a piece of code, and the next team would test it. They would provide feedback to the next team to develop some more. And it didn't work that well because there were so much overheads, communication overheads. So instead what they've done is like they've localized the development and they had coordination meetings instead. But that was more than 20 years ago, so that was in the 90s. The principle is to exploit the time zone differences. So not only we make extra days by going into countries that work on Sundays, but imagine that you're in India, you work your 8 hours, by the time you go home, we start in the UK, by the time we go home, people in the west side of US, they go to work. So we can actually follow the sun. So it means that it's like shifts in a factory. People will work till 5 o'clock, then the evening shift will arrive, and then the night shift will arrive. The important thing for follow the sun is that you need to define the software development tasks. Not everything is suitable for follow the sun. Brainstorming, don't do it. I cannot, in order to brainstorm, I need to have a face-to-face interaction. High-level design, it cannot work unless you have synchronous communication. You need to form the virtual teams. My PhD was, and actually my MPhil was on that. My MPhil was actually how to form software development teams. So it was the chief programmer team, which in the 70s they said, you need to have 8 people, no more than that. These days we have completely forgotten about this model. I mean, you don't need 8 people, you may need anything. Now it's focus driven. You need to allocate work to teams who is doing what, plan the coordination, who's going to be communicating with whom, and support the communication. Okay, you have all the references here, so for the people who really like the area and you want to do plenty of reading, you have plenty of reading, trust me. So based on Crow et al. They proposed a software process model for follow the sun. So what they've done, they've gone through different phases. They've done through 2 different stages of the model, and now this is the latest one. And they've identified 6 tasks. So the first one was team setup. Once you set up the team, then you have the project planning that actually have a communication protocol. For example, at JMSE, these 2 guys here, they've gone crazy. Yusuf said BSCW, we use BSCW. That reminds me when we were together in Manchester and we were using such tools to communicate. But actually that helped the project because with BSCW we upload the information, we communicate, and then we have the meetings every month or every other month on a Tuesday or a Monday evening. So there is a communication protocol, it keeps us together. Cultural training, and again, and again, and again. So next time you have a Greek and a Turk together in a meeting, they are not fighting who has invented baklava, whether it's Greek or Turkish delight, or whether it's Greek coffee or Turkish coffee. Okay? So it starts from that, it continues to more complex things, how people respect deadlines, a matter of respect. For example, sometimes, if we would be in the UK, I may call Dr. Imagul and say, Rim, can I please tell you for a minute? In Greece, that would be no. Dr. Rim at least, or Professor Rim, or even with the last name. So it's also the cultural thing, because it doesn't mean disrespect. I mean, it took me ages to start calling my supervisor Linda. Yusuf, remember that? Linda, she was so friendly. I said, I cannot call, she's the head of department, I cannot call my supervisor head of department Linda. She was Professor Macaulay. So you need that training. Once you have that, you have task allocation, you carry out the tasks, and that's iterative. And then what you have is the handout sessions, which means one team finishes the work, passes to the next team, and the next team, and the next team. I have 15 minutes left. I'm becoming so British checking the time already. I should just do it the Greek way. I'll teach you for 2 hours, and who cares about the next presenter? Okay. Determining follow the sun workflow. These are the typical define, design, code, blah, 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 and so on. Aaron Carmel. These days I travel, I feel like I'm a director of programs, so I feel like a glorified secretary. So these days I travel for work, but I don't get to travel mainly because of what I want. When I was a PhD student, and then when I was too research active, I traveled to the States to go at a conference where Aaron Carmel would be. He's an American, but he has strong ties with Israel, and they're doing a lot of work with IBM in Israel. And he's one of the people who's talking about virtual teams in a sense of how to utilize them for organizations. So I went there and I saw his presentation and I presented, and I was using his book for my teaching, and I was so excited. And actually I also managed to meet Professor Hardzikiewicz in Washington, and he came all the way from Australia. So any chance you get to meet the people who have defined your area, grab the opportunity. I still remember both these meetings. They only lasted for 15-20 minutes, and then we met in the evening for drinks, and it was amazing how it changes your way. And one of the things that Aaron Carmel was saying was about how important it is to find like maintenance or help desk activities. So if I'll go to the previous slide, where Kroll says, allocate tasks. These tasks, you have to have the right tasks. And what Aaron says, rapid prototyping, test, and fix, maintenance, and help desk. These are the tasks you need to outsource. You cannot do any other tasks because you're lacking the communication. And you have 4 criteria. The follow the sun objective is duration reduction. You're doing this in order to reduce the duration of the project. As far apart in time zones. So you need to carefully put your time zone so you can gain the benefit. There's only one side that owns the product at any time. So if the Indians are dealing with the software, do not offer to help. It's the Indians' responsibility till they do the handover period. And the handoff are conducted daily at the end of each shift. If the Indians are in trouble, don't give them 3 days waiting. When they finish the shift, they have to do, this is why the task is always broken into something that can be implemented within a shift or within a certain time, so we don't have to wait. So in a paper from Carmel and Spinoza work most of the time, Dabinsky added on this paper, it's around the clock work rotation method aimed at reducing project duration. And the knowledge product is owned and advanced by a production side, which is in control at any time. And then it's handed off to the next one at the end of each work day. Okay. Get this paper, it's very interesting. That was in 2010, but still it's quite relevant. Duration is decomposed in cross-site coordination. So how do we coordinate ourselves and the Indians? Within site, how do we coordinate ourselves? Personal productivity. How do we produce ourselves? That is based on a mathematical formula, which I did not add into the presentation. These 2 diagrams, they show, okay, let me go here. What we have here is the team size. This is a team of 36 people, 24 people, and 12 people. And this is the dependency links. This is the number of sites. So what it shows here is that the bigger your team, the links that the different teams will have are reduced with the number of sites. So for example, if I have 2 sites, US, UK, and India, so US and then I have UK and India, this is how much it drops in terms of how many links a 36-member team has. Why is that? You don't have the water cooler effect. You don't have the photocopier effect. I'm teaching next door to Louis on Wednesdays. So sometimes if I have things to ask, I'll say, I'm not going to send an email, I'm going to talk to him. And then we establish the bonding and we have all these links. That we miss if Louis goes to another building. Okay? This one shows the handoff efficiency and the speed of the project. So again, these are the number of sites. This is a big site, 4 sites here, only 1 site here. With the 1 site, you don't have a handoff. We're all together, so we're doing work together. So we don't lose time, say, oh, by the way, Louis, that piece of the code, it has a bug. Yap told me he has a solution, so don't touch it. Yap is gonna do it next day, on the next day. Okay, that's handoff. I just spent 1 minute explaining. That means that I don't have a 100% handoff. I have 98%. So the less efficient it is, here how the project is delayed. So if I have to explain to the Indians what the problem of my code is, and it takes me 2 hours, that is 2 hours of their time that they're trying to understand. So it means that they only have 6 hours left to do the work. Do we have any questions so far? Dr. Rim probably told you there are free questions. You don't have to pay for the questions, right? Okay. Good. Boring slide and the next slide, but I have it there because they came up with follow the sun propositions. For example, follow the sun will be more successful for product architectures that partition the software into smaller, relatively independent components. It makes sense. In other words, if you have a project that the code it takes 3 days to do, that's not follow the sun. It means that you have to work for 3 days, nobody else can touch your code. So that's not suitable for follow the sun. So they've done 12 propositions which are there for you to read. I said that I'm going to talk about project management, and project management includes, you need to be aware of the global software development needs, understand the cultural diversity, and achievement of operational visibility. I'm aware of the time, this is why I will go through some slides. Project management factors. You need to know your risks. What happens if one of the team fails to solve the problem? You need to know, for example, who is the best developer, and if they get stuck, who's going to step in to help you out. Another one, report and requirement. If you're doing follow the sun and everybody has to produce a report, you need to think of that this is part of the development work. I have a collection of cases, and again, you have the reference here, so do not panic. If you are a resourcer according to Belbin, it means that you have to find the resources all the time. I'm like this. When I'm in a project meeting and somebody says something, it's like I'm Googling it, trying to find the resources, and I'm the first one who gets the book from the library. That's obsessive compulsive disorder. I know I have it. If you have it, don't worry. All the links are there. The study identified dispersion, project performance, and control. So the idea is that how to configure the software teams and different companies, how they would actually work together. So this is the separation, dispersion, and the productivity. This is the experience spread and the productivity. So what they've done in this study, try to see from the different projects, if I have huge difference of experience, it affects my productivity. Why? Louis is an expert on service. I have no clue about service anymore. Okay, the last time that I had to handle a server was 98 to 2000, I think. Okay, so if I need to talk to him, for example, if they maintain a server that we have, one of my researchers used to work, Musket. If he needs to tell me about Musket, he will need a couple of hours. Okay, and that will affect his productivity and my productivity. And this is what they try to do with this research. What they said is like the variables were like separation, different people, different parts of the world, the number of sites, how many different development sites, the imbalance between personnel, new people, experienced people, and the experience spread with projects and so on. And this is how the productivity, so experience spread more, less productivity, and quality and profits. So this is what they've done. That's case one. I'm giving you ideas. If you want to do global software development, you can actually focus on these areas there. The second case study was a study about a critique of 10 key papers, and they came up with lessons on virtual teams. They found out that teams are difficult to coordinate, no surprise there. Cultural issues they need to be dealt with. Relationship building is almost impossible. Low level of teamness, you don't feel part of the team. You mentioned before that you work from home. If I'll tell you you're going to work from home and you're going to meet your colleagues once every 3 months, you have nothing to say. How many times you talked about football, about politics, about religion, about your kid at work? Several times. You don't have to talk for hours. You don't need to be the gossip of the office. But you'll say, like, oh, my daughter is not feeling well. So next thing that you know is like 2 days later, how's your daughter? That established teamness. You don't have that much with virtual teams. Lack of common standards and terms, I'm picking that one. If you have people in different parts of the world, they may have a different expectation of standards. They don't do the same level of work. Is there a question?
Yeah.
Go on.
For me, I used to talk with my colleagues outside the country using Skype every day.
Yeah.
That allow us to sometimes share some personal information, like talking about our...
Yes, and indeed, because the communication technology is there, so it helps people to bond even more.
At the time we have aligned terms, like the conflict between the culture and like this.
Where do you give time? But at the end of the day, you're not part of a virtual team. You're outsourced some tasks. If you were in a different country with a different, so communication with Skype is there and supports, but it does not replace the face-to-face interaction. This is what on case 2 they were trying to say. So with Skype these days, with WhatsApp, yes, I sense this a lot with people. I mean, my colleagues in Texas, I haven't seen them for 3 years now. I still feel that we're together. This is another study about the global software development team model, and this is about the central team and different teams and how they work together. And what they've done is like they've identified productivity flow in teams with experienced members. So they have a model about For example, here it says busy central team working with an experienced team provided by low support equals to available central team working with an experienced team provided by low support. So they've identified different ways of organizing your virtual teams. I don't have time. Sorry?
I'm the timekeeper.
Yeah, no, how much I have? 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you have case studies to read. The JMSE case study, what we've done is like we've worked with different sites, with different projects. A little bit of background, I worked for more than 6 years with different teams in global software development projects. Texas, Panama, Turkey, and the UK. So we put our teams in virtual settings and they work together. And we collect statistics and we work together. We had a pilot with 6 universities, the 6 project universities, and they had to work on 2 pilots. And I'm just briefly going to show you screenshots of what we did with the pilots. We collect data. These are different individuals from each university. These were the 2 different teams. So that was data about communication. So red means that certain people did not communicate much. There you are, 354 activity points and 127 activity points for 2 different projects. Gamification, look it up. Gamification is when you create game-like experiences for software development or other tasks. We used gamification. We were giving points to every time they communicated. So gamification helps in learning and can help in software engineering education as well. I had data that I can talk for days in terms of JMSE and what we did. Node Excel was used to find out these are different people. And this is the duration of the project. So that person here worked from this part of the project to this one. And then he passed the work to this person who started working here up to this. So that shows different people and where they are in the project. Lazy guy. Did work only in a couple of days. So that's how useful it is. So next time you talk to Dr. Rim, if you're in her module, say, oh, I work so hard. No, you don't work so hard. I can see this on the map. You only work 2 days. Communication between people or sites. Thick line, a lot of communication. Thin line, not a lot of communication. That shows 2 things. Either people communicate a lot, they do a lot of work, or they're in trouble. I don't get what you're saying. Oh, I believe A. No, it's B. No, it's A. No, it's B. No, it's a lot of communication. Production? No. So that is another useful tool. Not enough time. Frequency of communication. So for example, every student, how frequently they communicate, and actually the thicker that is, that means that they provided a lot of input. Positive side, you can see who contributes a lot. Negative side, you can see who likes to talk a lot. They pay me to talk. It's impossible to have coffee with me. I think I'm doing a lecture and I'm going to lecture even when we have to, but I stopped doing this. Dashboard. We created a dashboard now for the project that we have with the universities from Texas and so on. Data analytics, data science is here, and it's here to stay, because actually that gives me the timestamp of the chat too. I remember this point. That is the point when the students decide on entity relationship diagram. If I have them in the same room, they're going to have a fist fight. They cannot fight with their hands, so they fight with their fingers. So they send messages. No, this entity is wrong. The relationship should not be that. I disagree with the cardinality. This should be an entity, not an attribute. That is visible there. Then you can see contributions per team. Then you can actually see the communication activities over time. So in terms of how many posts you have in different parts. Last 2 slides. I'm 2 minutes over time. Okay, I know. Okay. Software engineering education. There is a very interesting conference taking place in June. And the scope of the conference is for software engineering students to appreciate the different challenges. Challenges could be complexity of the system, shorter development cycles. The student life cycle and preparing for lifelong learning. Future software engineering to meet industrial needs. So this is what software engineering education is about. It could be an area that you want to specialize in. In other words, it doesn't matter only to be a software engineering, but actually how do you prepare software engineers of the future? For example, Dr. Rim is an expert in the field, but with this project as well, she is investigating what will be the needs for the future software engineers so they become better. How do we prepare them? It's no longer telling you about requirements engineering. Yusuf is an expert in requirements engineering, but also how to implement requirements analysis for a project, a virtual project. These are some of the topics that they cover, like training, education, curriculum. So we're experts in this one now. We spent 3 years of our lives doing software engineering curriculum design. So we put together JMSE, which is a joint master's in software engineering. Carnegie Mellon has a GSD unit as part of their masters. These are the topics that they cover. And thank you very much for your attention. 3 minutes late. Thank you. Did you get questions now or just?
Yeah, if you want.
Yes.
Can you tell me more about using gamification?
Sorry?
Using gamification.
Oh, the what we did with gamification was like every time that you would upload a version of the document, you would get, let's say, 5 points. Or if you would meet a deadline, you would get an extra 1 point. You would miss a deadline, would be minus 1 point. So depending on the rules of the game, you could actually give points, and therefore you could actually measure how they performed in certain practices.
What do you do with the points?
Sorry?
What do you do with the points?
You run the teams. So what we're doing is, like, for example, every time we were running the projects, I think we have more than 25 projects now. You remember the project we did together for the JMSE project? We have more than 25 of these. So in a typical project, I usually have anything from 8 to 20 Middlesex teams that they get with the Texas and the Panama and the Turkish teams. So in order to give them the assignment grade, I check and say, okay, you've been number 2 in terms of communication, but number 18 in terms of versioning. Therefore, and the fight for their ranking. So it motivates them in terms of how much they do. Any other questions? Yes. Sorry, I'll just. Sorry.
You talked about the negatives about or the problems about software development.
Yes.
So if I have the money and the time, why would I use it?
I didn't realize that I drew such a pessimistic view. I was, because I like virtual. Okay. You would do it because you have the money and you have the time, right?
Yes, I have the money.
Okay. So you will do it because you want more money and more time. It means that if you have the money to invest in virtual teams, you will reduce your costs, therefore you'll do it. If you have the time to invest in virtual teams, you will find out that you have more time for your core development teams to do more work. You cannot escape virtual teams. They're new. It's not new. Global software development is not new. Now there are sophisticated project management approaches. You have to deal with it. In other words, your organization has to invest both time and money in order to make the gains out of GSD. And such, yes.
I'd like to ask you, do you share this maybe point, this statement that for me, for example, your presentation, which of course gave very brief view, shown importance of some general education, because you touch cultural aspect, geographical, psychological, yes. So my question to you, do you share this? But my message maybe to audience that when you spend time for your general education, not only training on software engineering, because it cannot be done in one course even within software engineering training, all this range of different aspects, economic, political, and many, many other. So when you spend time for your general education, it's very important contribution in your professional development.
Yes.
Can you?
Yeah, because you have to have appreciation of how culture affects the software development. You have to have appreciation of how time management affects. I mean, one of the best career paths you can have is to be as a software engineer. That will take you away from the software development and becoming a chief architect in your organization. The first thing that you will learn in an MBA, and I've done an MBA, so I know the first thing that they will tell you is how to utilize resources, how to manage your time, how to manage your resources and manage your projects, how to deal with operations. So, as Serge said, we cannot, in JMSE or any other program, we cannot teach all that in 12 learning hours or 24 learning hours. It's a general appreciation, and it's a lot of self-study required. You have a lot of resources there, so you can check. I'm out.
On behalf of JMSE and your partner, can we give you a physical, not a virtual?
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the physical presence.